Common Knowledge is brought to you by PureMTGO.com and InkedGaming.com. Use coupon code CCMTG10 at checkout for a 10% discount on all Inked Gaming supplies and accessories. You can support the show directly through Patreon at patreon.com/common knowledge.
This is the Common Knowledge Podcast. It's not about the cost, it's about the knowledge. Here are your hosts, Brandon Clark and Lobert.
Howdy do, everybody. This is episode 45. Is this 45?
It's definitely not 45.
It's definitely not 45.
It's 47.
47. It's definitely episode 47 of the Common Knowledge Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Clark, and joined with me as always is the boisterous Sean the Lobert.
Hello, I am the Lobert.
Yes, so boisterous, such Lobert, much wow.
How are you?
Good, doing good.
Same. Thanks for asking.
I was gonna say how I was gonna say my stuff, and then I was gonna ask you. But fine, if you don't want to hear about anything, then why don't you just talk about you? Let's just hear about you. No, I just want to hear about you.
I actually have nothing to say.
I was just gonna basically say the same thing. I don't have much going on. Nothing new. But there is some cool new stuff in the Magic world that I'm excited about. And it's all the stuff we talked about last week that I'm still excited about. And Eternal Ultimate Supermasters.
Yeah, and that's our subject for this week.
Yes, it is. We're gonna talk about some of the cards we would want to see brought into the format from this set, reprints, downshifts, stuff that we think would benefit the format. We're going to talk a bit about that. I'm all ready to go. I'm all wrapped up in my wife's Doctor Who blanket because it's negative 100 degrees in my apartment.
And you're just a little Hawaii boy who's not used to the cold.
I can't handle the cold. But yeah, I got my wife's Doctor Who blanket, and I'm ready to talk Ultimate Supermasters. But first, I guess we'll just talk about what we played.
What are we playing?
Do you want to go first this week?
Yeah, sure. I can go first. I decided to have some fun this week, and I played Inside Out Combo. And I ended up not having any fun because that deck is either kill ya on turn 2 or die before I can find the other half of my combo. It seems like.
And seems you just experienced the half that was die?
Yeah. That seems how it usually is. Like, I don't know. I think the format is starting to speed up enough to the point where Inside Out is probably just not a viable combo deck anymore, just because it's so inconsistent with how fast it can kill. And, like, you just need a ton of setup time to be able to just cantrip, and sometimes I played multiple games with this on Tuesday night where I looked at 30 cards and was just like, well, only found one half of the combo. I guess I died.
Yeah, but like the format I feel like still is polarizing, where the fast decks are trying to get a little bit faster, and then the slow decks are still slow decks, but they're stronger. And
yeah, they're able to keep up more in the early games before they can set up their big stuff. Like Tron has its moments pieces and its ways of interacting and stuff to get it to its big stuff. And Tyler's Tribe just really struggles to try to keep up. Like, the decks kind of punish you if you stumble. It doesn't give you a lot of time to set up, which is something that Tribe really, really needs, is that setup time. And the format just doesn't really give it to you. So,
and there's twice as many edicts running around with like a new edict deck in blue black Delver, and that can't help, because when I've played against tribe with an Edict deck, it just doesn't feel like a fair spell to cast.
Yeah. My inclination right now is to max out on Augur Bolus. Right now, most lists play like 2. I think it's probably correct to play the full 4 at this point, just as a way of ripping through your deck quicker to find those other pieces you need, and as a way to slow down the other decks and give you a little bit more breathing room, and cover you against edicts.
Yeah, it does help with that, but a lot of the time you're not casting Tireless Tribe and Augur on the same turn, so they have time to deal with the Augur before. Like I'm just saying, Tribe's in an awkward place right now. I think you're right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's an awkward place, and the best solution I have is just maxing Augur Bolus out, which I don't know. Like you said, I don't know if that's even enough, because
it does help on both fronts of slowing down the fast decks and making a body for the Edict decks.
Yeah. Either way, though, I'm not super high on this deck right now. It's still a blast to play, but it's funner when it works. Definitely. So what did you play this week?
Just more of my red mid-range brew, and I've talked about it a lot, so I'm not going to go too deep on it, but I think our card of the week is going to get slotted into that, even though it's not it's a multicolor card and it's a mono red deck. So do you want to get into the card of the week?
Card of the week.
And this is something I'm incredibly excited about. It's something that, like, when I've tried to build and brew decks of my own or look for answers, this is a type of card that I've always thought, like, man, I wish I had an effect like this. And now we have it. And this is a downshift. And credit where credit's due, because I don't want to take credit for this card. This is Alex Ullman's preview card. You can see it on Twitter if you go give him a follow. And I think he wrote an article about it on Channel Fireball. At least I'm assuming he is, because he writes for Channel Fireball. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to steal this from him. This is Alex Ullman's preview card. But the card is Fire Ice.
And this card sees play in like other formats, so that's like a really good sign. And it's just a powerful card overall. Yeah,
I used to put it in my my Delver decks of yore, before Legacy was what it is now. I'm talking about like when Rug Delver was a thing with Nimble Mongooses. When I played that deck, I used to put Fire and Ice in it. I love this card. Absolutely love this card.
So we'll go ahead and read what Fire and Ice does. So it's a split card. There's 2 halves of it. The fire side is a colorless and a red for an instant. Fire deals 2 damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures and or players, or just any target really. And then Ice says is a colorless and a blue for an instant, tap target permanent, draw a card.
Obviously, the best part of this card is fire. It's a forked bolt effect, which is something that I've always wanted in Pauper, and something that we don't really have any good ones, do we?
No, there's like Arc Lightning for 3, but that's a sorcery, and like when I've played that card, it's felt extremely awkward.
Yeah.
We have spells like Electrickery that can do 1 damage to their entire field, but if you need to double up damage on a single guy, it just can't do that, where Fire can. So that is, I think that's huge. So the Fire half alone is a playable card, and they just stapled another playable card to it.
Yeah, I like the comparison to Electrickery. Obviously, Electrickery is better in certain cases because you can wipe an entire board. But what makes Fire so strong is the versatility, right? Like, this card's never a dead card because you can just shock their face. Like, if you are in that situation, you can deal 1 damage to a creature, 1 damage to them. You can deal 2 damage to do different creatures, kill 2 creatures for 1 card and 2 mana. Or you can just double up and kill a 2 toughness creature. So just the amount of option you get out of fire, I think, is what kind of puts it on, I don't want to say a next level from Electrickery, but I think that this card will more consistently be powerful than Electrickery is. Like, Electrickery is going to be really powerful in the situations where you need it. It's going to be just a backbreaking spell. Whereas Fire and Ice is just always going to be consistently good. Like, you're always going to be happy that this is in your hand. It's a card that you can put in your main decks and not feel bad about. It's never going to be dead in a situation. Yeah, and of course that's due in part to the other side as well, the ice side, which even if you aren't doing anything relevant with it, it cycles itself.
So
worst case scenario.
I have a rules question because I've never actually cast this card or any card like this. Can I cast both halves?
No. You choose one or the other. Yeah. The only split cards that can, I believe, are from the Return to Ravnica block, and they have like a mechanic called Fuse or something, and it says that on the split card, like Fuse, like you can cast one half or both halves. Like Wear Tear, like the card Wear Tear. If you're familiar with that card, yeah, you can cast one or both halves of that card because it has like the fuse together mechanic.
It does instruct you that you can. Okay, I didn't know if it was just implied.
These old split cards, you can't do that. You choose one of them.
And the converted mana cost is just the half you choose, which is always 2.
When it goes onto the stack, I believe so, yes. But when the card is anywhere else, it's combined. I believe.
I know that's at least how it works. Like, well, what you're saying is how it works for those other cards. But yeah, I don't know on this one, to be honest.
I believe that all the split cards add them together, and then when it goes onto the stack, it's the side that you cast. So in this case, it's always going to be 2, but when it's like in your hand, I believe it's 4. So like, I don't know if you could take this card away from your opponent with, or Inquisition is 4 or less, right? Inquisition of Kozilek.
It's 3 or less.
It's 3 or less. I guess that doesn't matter because that card's not even in the format anyway. I'm just trying to think of a scenario where it would be relevant what the CMC of this card is. I don't know because I'm not a judge.
It's only relevant on the stack where Spellstutter Sprite can interact with it.
Yeah,
but in your hand, it really doesn't matter in Pauper.
Yeah, I'm fairly positive, for the sake of Pauper and the way that we're going to interact with this card, it's always going to be 2 because it's just going to be the CMC of the spell you're casting. So if you're casting Ice, it's 2. If you're casting Fire, it's 2.
Sweet.
I'm like 90% sure about that. I mean, I don't know. I'm definitely not a judge, and I don't know. This might be a crutch. That's what I want to say for me as a player. But when it gets down to like nitty gritty rules, I usually just think like, well, I'll ask a judge, so I don't really care.
Yeah.
Like if the corner case scenario ever comes up where I have to know what the CMC of Fire Ice is while it's in my hand or my deck, I can just ask a judge.
I mean, yeah, if you want to transmute for this, probably do a little bit of research, but
I guess that's the thing.
I think there's not a single listener that will do that. Like, maybe because I'm saying that, someone's just like,
no, I'm going to do it now.
Obstinate, like, defiant disorder, but and just is like, I have to do it now. But I really don't think it'll matter for Pauper, so sorry about the tangent.
Anyway, so obviously with this card, Fire is the reason to be casting this spell, and the Ice side is sort of just gravy, right? Like, when Fire is completely dead, useless, this does something. This at least cycles itself. My question for you is, though, as sort of the expert on the format, how useful do you ever see Ice being? Like, can you imagine scenarios where you are just glad that you have the ability to tap a permanent? Or is this always just going to be the Fire half is dead in this matchup, so I'm going to cycle this card?
I think that it will, and the reason I say that is because I do see it's possible this could be played in Delver. Like, that is not out of the realm of possibility at all. Like, it's a super good card. I don't think that they'd be upset to have it. And if you have a ninja in play and you can tap down your opponent's creature, draw a card, and then attack in to draw another card, like, I think you're glad that the other side of this card exists. And of course, like, if you're just looking to, like, okay, I need a counterspell, fire's not doing it, tap down your land or something, draw a card. I think that it's just gravy. It just adds. It just makes it better. So
yeah. It just adds to what makes fire so good, and that's the mobility of it. It just gives you so many options in a given scenario, and options are always good. I'm really glad that you brought up the Delver, because this is actually something that I'm really excited about specifically for Delver. In blue-red Delver, like mirrors and stuff, where cards like the most important cards in that matchup are the counter magic and like Ninja the Deep Hours. So like it's all about just trying to jockey for some sort of slight advantage where you can hit with a Ninja the Deep Hours. And cards like Spellstutter Sprite are really important in that matchup to help make that happen, and to help, like, if you can set up a turn where you have 4 mana or something where you can ninja a Spellstutter Sprite back to your hand to use as protection for your ninja, that's a really powerful scenario. And so as a mirror breaker, having something that can split and kill multiple fairies with a Spellstutter Sprite trigger on the stack is going to be, I think, a really something really huge in the matchup. Like, if you can ever get to that point where your opponent taps out for a Spellstutter Sprite and you're able to like fire their sprite and their other fairy, it just puts you in such a good position. I don't know. I think it's gonna be a huge card in the mirror.
Yeah, I love when you use fire to do things like, okay, like you have a fairy and an augur, attack with my ninja. Okay, like you're double blocking or something like that, and you can just be like, kill your fairy, finish off your augur, and like you've just drowned them in card advantage from doing 2 damage.
Yeah. It'll be insane. I'm really excited about this card and to start jamming this card. Like, this definitely isn't like a 4 of. I don't know. I think where I would start is 2 copies in a blue-red Delver deck, and see if it's a go down to 1 or a go up to 3.
Yeah, I mean, it gives you the edge in the mirror, I think, and yeah, it's like a 1 or a 2 main, and then probably more in the sideboard. I like it a lot better in the sideboard.
Yeah. Okay. See, I'm saying 2 just because I don't know. I think the right number is 1, but yeah. I want to see 2 because I would want to experience what it's like to draw multiples in a game and just see what that does for me. And if it's like I just drew another Fire Ice, I'm going to cycle this, or try to cycle this as soon as possible. If I find that I'm in that situation a lot, then 1 will definitely be the right number. But I don't know. I might get to a point where I'm just like, oh yes, I drew another Fire Ice. Perfect. This is going to be huge for me in this game, and maybe that means I want to stick to 2 or go up or try 3. I imagine that the right number is 1 in a main deck.
Man, I just see this being super good. Like, when the 2 damage isn't relevant, because like you say, your opponent has like Gurmag Angler or a 4/4 or something like that, you just do the other side of it. You buy a turn in a tempo deck. You're a tempo deck, and you've just bought yourself a turn cantripped. That's everything you want to do. So, like, yeah, the more I stare at this card, the more I'm like, ooh, this is just amazing. This is so good. It's a good card for the best deck in the format. Hooray!
Yeah. Maybe I should just start playing Scred Delver again.
Yeah, probably should.
Yeah, I probably should. Oh, but Elves is so fun. I just love Elves. Oh my gosh. All right. Let's get out of this topic and move on to our main topic.
Main topic.
Which is cards that we want to see in Ultimate Masters. So, Sean has put together a short list of cards from the last time we did a show like this. These are cards that did not make it into the format that we still would really like to see.
Yeah, I actually proposed this episode like a month ago when I was like planning out a whole bunch of our episodes, and Ultimate Masters hadn't been released yet. And I was just like, I want to do another fun episode. This is one of the most fun episodes that I think we've ever recorded. We were just laughing the whole time of just what cards we want in Pauper. And I wrote down my list like separate because I write things down like that, but I don't have any of Brandon's cards. So
I think that like the majority of my cards were like
Treasure Cruise
on the ban list, yeah, because I was just being a smart ass.
Yeah, you brought up Treasure Cruise like 5 times.
I'll try not to bring them up this time. I just like Ancestral Recall, and I'm never gonna have the privilege of casting my own Ancestral Recall. So Treasure Cruise is as close as I can get.
Well, I mean, if you've looked at the spoilers, they've already announced that they're printing Treasure Cruise. So your wish has been granted, but we can't play it because it's still banned.
Yeah.
But okay, so the list of cards that we said we wanted: Mortar Pod, because it's my favorite card ever; Wall of Omens, because it's a sweet white card; Memnite, because Shyamalan; Condemn, which is the 1 mana Swords to Plowshares if the creature is attacking or blocking, because we think white needs more removal; Aetherize, because we're masochistic and want blue to be a better color in Pauper.
Yeah.
And we were just looking for sweepers, and I think it's a fair sweeper. It's just in the wrong color. And then we've got Stifle, because I think Stifle would be so much fun in Pauper. Necrotol, and we'll get into that later. Skullcrack, because there's no effect in Pauper that negates healing besides just doing more damage. You can't just say, no, you're not going to gain that life. Vampire Nighthawk, it's just an iconic card that I want to play with. Palaka Worm, I think green needs like a real big finisher, like something for ramp to really ramp into and feel good about it. And then Tide Hollow Sculler, I'm not sure why, but I just like Tide Hollow Sculler. But that's the cards we've already covered. There's a whole episode about those and other ones that Brandon brought up. And there's no documentation of it other than that video that I'm not going to watch.
All right. And so as far as reprints go, these are just some of the things that we would like to see as reprints, mostly just to help availability primarily on Magic Online, but also on paper. And the first one are cantrips. So Ponders, or maybe not Ponders, but Preordains, that card's like $4 or $5 in paper.
Mm-hmm.
And Ponder, I think, is also in the $2 to $3 range. I don't know what they're like online, but in paper, they're kind of pricey for commons.
They said they were just like, we don't want to hold back on this. And I'm like, well, just print some money, easy. Just make some blue cantrips, right?
Yeah. It was Andrea Mangucci tweeted, I don't care about any of the prices of this set. I just want there to be reprint all the good cantrips in Pauper so I can buy cheap foils. Cheap paper foils for my Pauper decks.
I need those for my cube. Anyway, next we want Gush reprinted, because I also want foils for my cube. And
foils for the foil Gushes, as we saw, are expensive. You know, I still regret not buying those Japanese Gushes. I think what I ended up doing instead was buying a bunch of stuff for an EDH deck that I took apart months ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I could have bought foil Japanese Gushes.
And sold those.
No, I would have kept those.
All right.
I don't think you understand how many cards I go through on like a monthly basis. You see me sell a lot of cards, but you also don't see the amount of cards that I keep.
Right, yeah. But
I mean,
I just know you for selling cards.
Yeah, well, that's because if I'm not using them, I got to move them for stuff that I want.
That's true.
I mean, I have a big collection of just random stuff that has no playability value at all, are just cool. Like I'm never gonna play with slivers in any format, including
but I watched
EDH.
you buy one.
Oh yeah,
So...
you saw me buy a Japanese sliver queen, and I still have it.
That's something.
Yeah, I don't. There are things that I like, and I don't get rid of them, and the other stuff I don't care about. I don't get sentimental with most of my cards. They're means to an end. Some
That's
of the
true.
cards I do, though, like my slivers.
I'm just so attached to all my cards.
In the case of Japanese gushes, I would probably just put those in a hard plastic and never touch them. Every once in a while, I'd open the box slightly so that the light doesn't hit them and look at them.
Like a dark room for developing pictures, but it's just for looking at gushes.
So pretty. All right. The other one is the Pyro and Hydroblasts, because I don't ever want to be called bad names again for owning these online, since they're expensive.
Yeah, and you know, I don't think it would hurt too bad to have, potential 8 copies of each of those. I don't think that'd be the end of the world.
What are you talking about?
I guess I'm thinking of, I want red elemental blast, blue elemental blast.
Well, we'll get to those. Those are on the list of downshifts, but these are
okay. I guess those are reprints.
These are reprints we want, specifically
right.
Pyro and Hydroblast as reprints.
Okay.
Or I guess I think it would count if Red and Blue Blast were in the set instead. Like one of the two.
Yeah.
I would prefer Red and Blue Blast though, if that was the case.
Same. And then the last one that I think is going to eat up most of the time we're talking about in the reprint section, Oubliette.
You think this is going to eat up a lot of time? I think this one's just cut and dry. It's worth $30 or something stupid in paper. I don't even know what they're like online. Can we just get this reprinted already?
Yeah, I think it's just, the discussion is, maybe it won't eat up that much time, but the discussion is so long in the tooth that I think just get it over with. Just print a copy of this. I think, I don't know. It might be a little bit of a moot point. It would probably be printed at Uncommon or something like that, but I just want it reprinted. They've said that they're fine reprinting it, and this isn't like an introductory set. Nobody just starting out in Magic is probably going to buy this unless they're just so hyped up on it that they want to be the very best. But it's a confusing card, and so
no one ever was.
Yeah.
Will they beat all the rest? Is that their cause?
Yeah. But I think this is one of the perfect sets, because I think even a commander set or a dual deck wouldn't make that much sense to put it in there, and it's just so expensive. This is, again, I think is printing money. I mean, online this card is cheap. It's only in paper that this card is expensive.
Yeah, I think you got a good point. This can't go into a dual deck. This can't go into a commander deck. This definitely can't go into a standard set. And not because of the power level, but just because of how weird this card is. What this card does. The templating on the card is going to be hard. The errata, even the errata of the card is weird. Mm-hmm. To read. This is not a card that Wizards of the Coast I think would ever want to put into a set where a new player would get their hands on it. So I think that if they're gonna do it, this is the only place to do it.
Yeah, I think after this Masters set, I think they're gonna take a break for a while. And if they're taking a break for a while, it's probably not gonna happen for a really long time.
Yeah, I agree. So I think that if Oubliette is not in this set,
the price is going to be $100.
Go, yeah, like the day of spoilers, if you're one of those people who need oubliettes. Honestly, if you need oubliettes, I would recommend maybe just buying them now, because I think that this is the only place they're gonna be, and I still don't even think that's super likely it's gonna be in the set. I don't know. I just think it's such a hard card to reprint. I don't even think they're gonna bother with it.
Yeah, I don't. How long does a set take to develop? Do you know?
I think they develop like 2 years out. I don't or something. I know they're working like way into the future. Like,
is starting at least, because like I know GP Vegas, like there was all like since there was all that like the talk about Pauper, because it was like the first big Pauper tournament. It like there was a lot of discussion about oubliettes specifically because the professor brought it up, and I'm just wondering if that could factor into if this is going to get reprinted or not. It possibly could. That was like 6 months ago.
Yeah, I feel like 6 months is not a long time. Like I feel like they're already done with this like a year out from its release date, and then it's like at that point or at least that's how it is for normal standard sets. I don't know what it's like for one of these sets where everything is a reprint, so they're not developing new cards. It's probably not as difficult to just change something on the fly if they feel like it's not going to ruin something. Like
Black Uncommon out, oubliette is in, use the old art. You write some text. You get the rest of the day off to just write some oubliette text.
Yeah, we need her out of this card or template this card properly or something, I think the biggest thing is just like making sure they have ample time to get the cards through the printer.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to quote this because I can't remember it for sure, but like Gavin Verhey was on a podcast recently and they were kind of talking about this. And I want to say that they said that like they have everything printed and like in a warehouse, like something like around 6 months before its release date. Like the cards are back from the printer and they've got them boxed and packaged in a warehouse ready to send out to the distributor. That also could just be wrong. I can't remember for sure, but I feel like they do sit for like a decent length of time. So
enough time to curl.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I don't know. Like honestly, I'm not a MTG finance expert, but the way I see it is like if you really, really need oubliettes to play with, just go buy your oubliettes, and if they get reprinted, yeah, you lose a bit of money, but you've been playing with them all this time anyway.
Yeah.
And if they don't get reprinted, well, you look like a genius because you just saved yourself $200 on a play set of oubliette.
Yeah, the old ones might not take a dive that much because they're sweet.
That's true. Yeah.
That bubbly border. I miss the bubbly border.
Such bubbles.
Okay, you want to do the downshifts?
Yeah, let's talk about these downshifts.
This is the exciting part.
Yeah, so this is actually a really cool cycle that I hadn't thought of that Sean added. And this is the Return to Ravnica 1-drop cycle. So we're talking about the hybrid cards. We've got Rakdos Cackler, Dryad Militant, Judge's Familiar, Slitherhead, and Blister Coil Weird.
I think any of these or all of them would be sweet. If you're not familiar with what they do, Rakdos Cackler is a 1/1 for 1 that if you unleash it, but you can put a +1/+1 counter on it, and if it is unleashed, you can't block. Yep.
Yeah.
And so it's a 1-drop that is a 2/2. So like things like Red Deck Wins and Suicide Black, like really I feel like want this. Like that it's just a sweet card. It can't block. Like it feels balanced. We have effects like this in Pauper already. The next one is Dryad Militant. It is the white-green part of the cycle. It's a 2/1 for 1, which is It might be a little bit too strong, but, 1 toughness creatures don't ruin our format. We have solutions for those, especially now that there's Fire and Ice, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Fire and Ice, not Fire and Ice, yeah, let's read Fire and Ice again.
I know,
Dryad Militant says that if an instant or sorcery would go to the graveyard from anywhere, or the stack, I'm not sure. From anywhere, it's exiled instead. So this would be our first, real hate bear in the format. And I think we're lacking.
Yeah. And the reason I don't think a 2/1 would be very bad in this format is mostly just because of Augurbolus.
Oh, yeah, that too.
I just don't think a 2/1 would really do anything. I think that you're not putting this in your deck because of the 2 power. You're putting it in your deck because of the effect on it.
Because Tron exists and you hate Ghostly Flicker?
Yes. Yeah, and you want Moment's Peace out of the picture. I think that's the biggest takeaway from this card is the ability to turn off the back half of those flashback spells. So not letting Tron flashback its Moment's Pieces, because that's sort of one of the big things. What's going on? Is my voice weird?
No, I just realized that Blue-Black Delver would die if you cast a Dryad Militant.
Yeah.
Your Thought Scours are just well, hope you hit land off of those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Battle Screech gets significantly worse when you can't flash it back.
Oh, it really would. I want that so bad.
Yeah. I actually think this card would be really, really powerful in the format. And honestly, it has nothing to do with the 2 power on it.
Yeah, I just want this effect. Something like this effect. The next one is Slitherhead, and I'm going to have to look up the text.
Judge's Familiar.
Oh, read it.
I think we skipped Judge's Familiar. So Judge's Familiar is the blue-white card in this cycle. It's a 1/1 with flying, and it says sacrifice Judge's Familiar to counter a non-creature spell unless its controller pays 1.
Instant or sorcery.
Instant or sorcery. Unless so it's controller pays 1.
So it's like a Curse Catcher. Yeah, so instant or sorcery unless its controller pays 1. So it's a 1 mana 1/1 with flying. I just think that's super good. You can really start beating in, pecking in, and the effect just makes it hard for your opponent to play normal Magic if you play it on turn 1. Next, this is one of my favorites. Oh, they're all my favorite. I love this whole cycle. I wish we had any one of them. Slitherhead is a 1/1 for 1. It's Golgari colors, so black or green. And if it's in your graveyard, you can pay 0, exile it from your graveyard, and put a +1/+1 counter on a creature. Anytime you're paying 0 for a good effect, that's super great. It doesn't need to stay in your graveyard. You don't have to do shenanigans with it. It just needs to go there and it's good. So it doesn't any of these cards can be played in a monocolored deck too, which is really, really cool.
Yeah. I can't really think of a lot of places where I would immediately want to put Slitherhead, but
yeah, I mean,
maybe you talked about the Suicide Black deck. This is another way to just buff up your creatures. It's a 1-drop that you can get in with
sideways. Yeah, I mean, it might be the least exciting of them, but I really love it. Lastly, we have Blister Coil Weird, and this has a lot of potential.
This card, this was your card, wasn't it? Or was that the other one?
My card. All of these were my card, Brandon.
I'm talking about when you played Standard.
Yeah. Well, let's finish Blister Coil Weird.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Then I'll tell my Standard story. So Blister Coil Weird is a 1/1 for 1 that when you cast an instant or sorcery spell, it gets +1/+1 and you untap it. So on defense, it can just be a surprise untapped dude. You bolt their guy, block another guy. It can also kind of have this pseudo prowess. It doesn't trigger off of all non-creature spells, but the untapping is like weirdly combo-y. You know what I'm talking about? Like,
Yeah.
you there's effects that want you to be able to tap and untap a creature over and over again.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have anything to say about that before I tell the standard story?
No, tell us your standard story.
That's not Pauper.
Okay, so when I was playing standard in Return to Ravnica block, I built a deck with, I think, 4 out of the 5 cards in this cycle. And I just played like all of the shock lands. I think I omitted like 1 color and it was like blue. And all of my creatures were multicolor. I had like Boros Reckoner and stuff in there. And I think it was Civic Saber. Yeah, the card Civic Saber, which functions if you have multicolor creatures exactly like Bone Splitter. It's just a 1-mana artifact that you can equip for 1. Gives a creature +1/+0, but if it's multicolor, +2/+0. And there was some really strong decks running around then. Like, what was it? Like the Bant deck with like Thragtusk and the Angel.
Well, this was the Jund era of Standard,
Yeah.
where Liliana the Veil was in Standard. Snapcaster Mage was in Standard. People were playing Naya Blitz, the champion of the parish aggro deck with Burning Tree Emissary that killed you on turn 3.
Isn't that the Standard era that the word aristocrats? Was
Yes.
that around before then? I think it was
Aristocrats.
coined in that Standard.
Aristocrats was in that Standard. The Abzan Reanimator decks with Craterhoof Behemoth and Angel of Serenity. That was this Standard format. This is the Standard we're talking about, and this is what Sean was doing. He was pantsing up 1-drops with Civic Saber.
Oh, there was also Rancor in that format, and I used a lot of Rancor. And I'll admit, I got laughed at a lot. People were just like, "What are you doing? What is this scrub?" And like I always do, I'm like, "Okay, hit you for 4 on turn 2, hit you for 9," and they're just like, "I'm so angry at you," and I was just, oh god, it was so much fun. I loved these guys, and that's why I want to play with them in Pauper.
Yeah, and I think that they would be great in Pauper. I think the best one would probably be Dryad Militant, just for the reasons that we talked about earlier. Judge's Familiar is probably good too.
And Rakdos Cackler.
Slitherhead is probably just meh. And the only way Blister Coil Weird is good is if there's some way to just break that card in half. Like, I feel like Blister Coil Weird is either just going to be busted or it's just going to be like, meh.
Does stone nothing or
someone
everything.
Do something silly with it, make some silly deck that, doesn't do much. Kind of, like some weird.
Well, it could just go into like Blitz. Like, it could just go into Is It Blitz really easy. Just, okay, now we have a 1-drop.
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
And instead of playing like Delver, you're just like, well, when I'm trying to go combo off, my Blister Coil Weird is just a 6/6 that's untapped.
That's true. Yeah, I guess that could replace Delver's Secrets in those decks. Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Anyway, you want to move on to the next stuff?
Yeah, let's talk about the next stuff. So these are the Exile guys. Fiend Hunter and Banisher Priest.
One is the balanced version with the worst text, and the other one is so what is it? Fiend Hunter is the 1/3 that has the old text like Oblivion Ring, and then Banisher Priest is the 2/2 that has the new text that's stupid and balanced.
Yes. So if you are newer to the game and have only experienced Banisher Priest and don't know what it's like to have someone bounce an Oblivion Ring with its ability on the stack, what happens with Fiend Hunter is its text box is divided into like two different things. So it's got its first trigger that goes on the stack that says exile this creature. And then it has another trigger that goes on the stack when Fiend Hunter leaves play that says return that creature to the battlefield. So if you cast your Fiend Hunter and put its trigger onto the stack, targeting, whatever you target, and then you say Ghostly Flicker, your Fiend Hunter, that creature will be permanently exiled, and then Fiend Hunter will come back into play and target something else. Same thing if you kill your Fiend Hunter. So I could just, if I don't have a Ghostly Flicker, I could just cast my Fiend Hunter, target your Gurmag Angler, trigger on the stack, kill my Fiend Hunter. Your Gurmag Angler's gone.
Yeah, nothing's bringing it back.
You 2-for-1 to yourself, but it's a way to get around. Angler. Yeah, it's a way to kill something. Banister Priest is the fixed version of that, where both of the triggers are the same, I guess. So Banisher Priest would not do what Fiend Hunter does. I think Banisher Priest is probably the better option for Pauper. I think that Fiend Hunter with cards like Ghostly Flicker would just be nutty. That would just be outrageous.
Yeah. But let's talk about the next little group, and I think we can talk about them all together because I think they're the same subject. So the next one is a set of 4 cards that we don't care which one we get. We just want one of them. So the cards are Gatekeeper of Malakir, which is black for a 2/2, and it has kicker for another black. And if you pay the kicker cost, your opponent sacrifices a creature. Necrotal is like a 2/1 with first strike for 4 that destroys a non-black creature. Shriekmaw has, I want to say Echo, but it's not. It has Evoke. And it also destroys a non-black. Is it also non-artifact? I need to look that up.
Yeah, non-black, non-artifact.
Yeah, it's a 5-mana creature. It's a 3/2. It has Fear. It destroys a non-black, non-artifact creature. And its Evoke cost is 2. So that's like a pretty efficient removal spell, even if it doesn't hit a lot of the creatures in our format. It does hit some of the most important ones, though.
Yeah.
That might be okay, just because it doesn't hit enough stuff, and I don't know. Like, it's a very powerful spell. All of these are really powerful. And then the last one I think is Ravenous Chupacabra. I'm not familiar enough with that card to say it off the top of my head.
It's 2 black for a 2/2 that when it comes into play destroys a creature.
Okay, yeah. So
I'm going to double check that it's not non-black creature, but I'm pretty sure it just kills any creature.
It's tapped. It's a tapped creature.
I don't think it is. No, it just says when Ravenous Chupacabra enters the battlefield, destroy target creature and opponent's controls.
Oh, anyway, so all of these are removal on a stick. We have very little removal on a stick, and it's really pretty bad. Like, if it's going to be doing something, it's doing 1 damage, or you're working really hard and doing 2 damage. Like, I don't know what it's called. There's some kind of 1/4 weird that's like a 4 cost, and if you spent red on it, it does 2 damage. Like, there's effects like that, but we don't really have removal on a stick at all. I think if we did any of the white guys, that would improve white's removal package, and white really needs removal. Like, Fiend Hunter is double white. I'm not sure about Banisher Priest, so that helps. I think you'd have to be careful with a lot of these black spells, but I just want one. Like, maybe that's too strong for Pauper. It does borderline on too strong for Pauper, but I still want one. And then the next card that I don't think is, I think it would just break Pauper in half is, I do want a Flametongue Kavu. Nobody's playing Flametongue Kavu, but my, that would be fun, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I like Flametongue Kavu a lot. Flametongue Kavu would probably just be fine, right? I mean,
really?
It wouldn't be worse than one of these unconditional kill things, right? Like, it only deals 4 damage to something. It's not going to kill a Gurmag Angler like a Ravenous Chupacabra or a Necrotal would.
I guess, but the body is just so large compared to the other.
It's a 3/3 or something?
Let's look it up.
It's a 2/4. Or it's a 4/2. What is it? Holy smoke-a-molies.
I just remember it being big.
Maybe it is too big.
It's a 4/2 for 4 that does 4 damage to target creature when it enters the battlefield. So flickerable,
Yeah.
big power, doesn't have 1 toughness. Those are all like it has removal. Those are all of my check boxes and a half. Like, yeah. If you're just if I can get enough people to agree with me that I get to play Flame Tongue Kavu in this format, I'm not playing anything else. That's it. I'm just playing Flame Tongue Kavu.
I believe you. Okay. So the next card we have on the list is Sarah Angel.
Yeah. I mean, isn't it time?
Yeah.
Come on.
It just feels like it should be. And I mean, it's never going to be a common in a normal draft set, but in Ultimate Super Duper Masters, where it already looks like the limited format's going to be garbage. Like, who wants to play with back to basics in limited? Am I right? Just throw common angels in there. Why not?
I mean, you know, like you don't want to play back to basics in limited, no, but you want to rip a back to basics in your pack.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I'm saying. Like,
I think the rest of the format, are you going to not have enough playables, Brandon?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. They already don't. This format already. They probably don't care about limited quite as much because they're putting all these crazy rares in there that are garbage for limited. So make up for it by making Sarah Angel a common.
Sure, as long as I get Sarah Angel.
I don't know. I'm not going to draft this set anyway, so I don't really care.
Me neither. I just want this to be. This is. I want to say that this is shaping up to be the best Pauper set ever. Like, it just feels good. Like, just starting us off on Fire and Ice is just like, here you go, buddy. Unless just for the rest of the time, they're just like, we didn't think about Pauper and just printed everything else that was common at common.
Yeah. It was like, we weren't considering Pauper. Fire and Ice was a limited consideration that just happened to go into Pauper.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see.
And then we'd made a mistake and made Flame Tongue Kavu.
I actually kind of really want to see Flame Tongue Kavu in the format now because I'm not completely sold that it would be a mistake, but you seem to think otherwise, so
I feel like that would be amazing, but whatever. I'm in the middle of like, what have I been playing for the last like 3 weeks, 3 months?
Yeah, you're red mid range. This card would be insane in your red deck.
Yeah, that's all I can say at this point. Yeah,
oh, Bobby. All right, last card on our list, and we sort of touched on this at the beginning, but red and blue blast. So I would like to see either or Pyroblast or Hydroblast or the red blue blast cycle. I definitely don't think we'd get both. So like if we're gonna get Pyroblast, we're not gonna see the red and the blue blast.
Yeah.
I kind of like the idea of red and blue blast being printed. I don't know that it would be a bad thing to have that many copies of it, you know? I don't think that would break anything. No one's going to put all 8 copies into their sideboard to hose something.
And like, if they do, you're shooting yourself in the foot at that point.
Yeah, if you do, you're being a goose.
A lot of the time, I think 4 Pyroblast is even wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like 3 a lot of the time is good.
Yeah, I'm usually on 3 Pyroblast. The only time I'm ever on 4 is for Hydroblast, and that's just because I know Burn is like an unwinnable matchup.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, cool, 4 Hydroblasts. But like 4 Pyroblasts seems like overkill. Like 3 is usually the perfect number. 2 to 3.
So we have a little bit of extra time since we kind of blew through this. We're not quite to an hour yet. So one more card I think would be cool is Stoke the Flames. I think like it does. It's the 4 mana. You can, is it Conspire? No. Convoke. I get those mixed up so often. I hate it. You can Convoke. It's 4 cost, does 4 damage, like double red or something like that.
Yeah,
2 or 3 red.
It's 2 red.
Card's pretty cool with Thermo Alchemist. It's good in red deck wins. Like,
so this card is what made Goblin Rabble Master more playable than Monastery Mentor in that standard format, because Goblin Rabble Master and his tokens could convoke Stoke the Flames better than Monastery Mentor could. Which sounds silly, but that was a huge consideration when people would play the Jeskai Ascendancy aggro deck in standard. Was the argument was Monastery Mentor, which is just absurdly busted, or Goblin Rabble Master, so I can cast my Stoke the Flames for 0 mana more frequently.
That's a weird argument. I've never heard that.
Well, that's just how powerful Stoke the Flames is as a Magic card. That was a consideration in deck building that people had, was how important do I think it is to cast my Stoke the Flames for 0 mana, and a lot of people decided that it was very important.
Yeah, I remember playing that standard format. I only played the very, very start of that. That's when I was falling off of standard, because I was like, I have to buy new cards, meh. I just wanted to play that card, and like it's an uncommon, and it was like $2 or $3.
Yeah.
That was a really cool card though, so I wouldn't mind playing with that. It's, I don't know, the power level's really high there.
I still have like 12 copies of Stoke the Flames. I'm waiting for the new modern format. Like, you know, what Frontier was trying to be. I'm waiting for the real version of Frontier to come along, and then
just unload
all my Stoke the Flames. I don't know. I've got a bunch of random stuff. I own like 30 Crackling Dooms.
What's that?
It's a red, white, black. Target opponent sacrifices their biggest creature, and then they take 2 damage or something. I don't know. It's like worth nothing. It's like a bulk rare that I just accumulated a ton of over the course of standard. It was really good during standard, but
yeah, that's exactly what it does. 2 damage to each opponent. Each opponent sacrifices a creature with the greatest power among creatures they control. All right.
That's just like one of those cards that I'm like, meh, that might be good in some weird new format. And I just had a ton of them in a bulk box, and I was just like, I can get 10 cents for these, or I can just hold on to them. Like, it's not hurting me to just keep them in a box.
Yeah.
I have a bunch of weird stuff like that I'm just like, yeah, if they ever make like a postmodern format, like a new modern format, these cards might be good. So I'm going to keep them. Like Siege Rhino.
Oh, yeah, easy.
I have many Siege Rhinos. I don't know. It's also just like people say that if they're going to make a new modern format, they're going to do it like after cons, because they don't want fetch lands in the format. I was like, that makes sense too, but I don't know. I drafted cons so much, like 2 or 3 times a week, that I just have I just had so many bulk rares from that set. I just picked out anything that might one day be good.
Yeah, I think I have a giant box like that too. I think everybody does. That's why nothing ever spikes.
Oh man. Anyway.
You ready for end times?
Yeah, let's wrap it up with the end times.
End times.
Thank you guys so much for listening to episode 47 of The Common Knowledge. Such common, much knowledge. Very podcast.
Wow.
Wow. Oh, man. If you would like to support us, you can do so at patreon.com/common knowledge. Where you'll be able to get access to the Common Coliseum, where Sean and I battle it out for glory and honor. Which usually
we've been playing for honor.
Yeah,
I've done you dirty.
Yeah, you have. I have no honor left.
You are without honor. That's for all the Trekkies.
We have our stretch goal. When our Patreon hits $50, we're going to hold our 5-card blind tournament. You can get all the details for that on the Patreon webpage. We're going to have prizes in the form of coupon codes of varying
size,
varying value, varying size to MTGO traders through puremtgo.com to MTGO traders, where you can buy stuff for Magic Online. The other great big way you can help us is to check out the Constructed Criticism page on YouTube, where there you'll be able to see all of the great content that Spencer Howland and the rest of the Constructed Criticism team puts out. I just listened to the first episode of Constructed Criticism featuring Hall of Famer Seth Manfield and Platinum Pro John Stern. So check that out because that's really awesome. If you'd like to email us, you can get a hold of us at commonknowledgemtg@gmail.com. If you send us an email, there's a really good chance we'll read it. If you send us nonsense, we'll probably not read it on the show, but Sean and I will get a good laugh out of it and enjoy it.
Yeah, if you just want to talk to us and have us know something, or if you have information or want it to be read on the show.
Yeah, if you have a question, or a suggestion for a show topic, we've done that. We had a listener give us a question, and then we just turn that whole question into a show. So you can do that, commonknowledgemtg@gmail.com. And last thing for supporting us is our sponsors. Big thank you to them, puremtgo.com. Go check them out for articles and MTG podcasts, deck lists, all that good stuff. And inkgaming.com. They are having a big old Black Friday sale, I believe, where you can get a bunch of cool stuff from them. They've got tons of playmats, accessories, mouse pads, stuff like that. Use the coupon code CCMTG10 to get yourself a 10% off at checkout, and we will see a bit of a kickback from that. So it's a win-win-win. Ink Gaming wins because you visited their store and bought their stuff. You win because you save money on a bunch of great merchandise, and we win because we get a little kickback from it to support the network.
Yeah, I don't know how it works, but if you can combine our coupon code with the Black Friday stuff, you're basically stealing.
Yes.
So, and supporting the podcast.
That is one question that I had that I was going to look into that I just didn't think about looking into, is if the coupon code's going to apply to their stuff that's already on sale. I don't know if it will.
But it could.
But if it does, you're running out the front door with their TV. The wife's in the living room screaming with the baby, and you're just running out with their TV, and Ink Gaming's just standing in the doorway like this. That's what's happening.
And the baby's just baby Jace.
What?
I don't know. I had to make it magic based. I don't know. I know baby Jace is a thing.
So, which one is baby Jace now? Because there was 3-mana Jace, and 3-mana Jace was baby Jace, but then they printed 2-mana Jace.
He's real baby Jace.
But he's like the second best Jace.
Yeah,
so can he be baby Jace? Yeah? Okay.
Sadly.
Standard players when that card got printed. This card sucks! Standard players a month later. Dang it, Jaces are $60! Oh!
I knew it all along! Okay, Twitters.
This is where you can find us if you would like to contact us. You can find me on Twitter at bclark_ck. You can find Sean at Lobert8. You can also find him on the YouTubes where he makes Pauper-related content videos. You can see him play leagues, and he'll do stuff with all his crazy Lobert brews. And if you would like to follow the show on Twitter, you can at CKPodcastMTG, where you'll be able to see when the show gets posted up and all that good stuff. And of course, we do have a Facebook page, Common Knowledge. Just look for Common Knowledge on Facebook. We've got an ever-growing group of feisty individuals, young individuals. I don't know. They're great. They're a great bunch of guys. They're a bunch of people. They're fun. They are fun. Yeah. So, thanks. That's the show. Tune in next week.
Long live Flame Tongue Kavu. Don't get flooded. Bye.
Bye.